If you watched my video recently where I showed you how I store some of my resin materials and supplies and molds, you maybe remember me talking about this tray mold. I bought it several years ago, still hadn't used it, and finally got it out this week to use. So I'm going to show you today how I'm using this mold to give you a little sneak peek of the colors. I used some blue and purple and white and gold flakes. So check the description for links to everything that I'm using, and make sure you stick around for the reveal at the end. You can see some of my supplies out here. The tray mold, some mixing cups and stir sticks, pigments to color the resin, and of course, gloves and glasses. I'm using a resin that has a 1-to-1 ratio, so I'll pour in 3 ounces of part A and 3 ounces of part B. Follow the instructions for your specific resin. I need to stir mine for 2 minutes, then pour it into a second cup and stir 1 more minute. To help me get a totally bubble-free pour, I'll next put the cup into my Resiners Airless Pro. Then I'll set on the lid, plug in the cord, and seal the air escape tab that's in the back. Once I push the power button, the machine creates a negative pressure up to negative 99 kPa inside the chamber. This lower pressure allows air bubbles to release up out of the resin mixture. If I'd been smarter, I would have used an even larger cup, as you need about double the volume for the bubbles to fill up that space. My solution was this. I watched for the bubbles to reach the top of the cup. Then I turned off the machine and opened up the air release tab in the back. And you can see immediately when I release the tab, all those bubbles pop and the surface level drops down in the cup. So I repeated this process a couple more times and knew that I'd pulled most of the bubbles out of the resin. If I'd used a bigger container where this wasn't a problem, then I could let it run the full 3 or 4 minute cycle and not have to worry about it overflowing. I found that the easiest way to remove the lid is to use my thumbs pointing up underneath the edge of the lid and then pushing up to help release the seal. To mix up some of the different colors I'm using, I'm just pouring about 1 ounce into these different cups. I'm going to add a few drops for alcohol ink, 1 or 2 drops of the white opaque dye, and 1 drop of acrylic paint. Then I'll use different stir sticks to mix them all up. I'm starting with 2 wavy lines of the purple. And then some lines of white, and then add in lines of the other colors across the tray. Here's some gold flakes I'm mixing into some plain resin for a few gold lines in the pattern. And I still have some extra resin off to the side in case I need extra of any of the other colors too. So I'm going to fill in all of the spaces and make sure the resin gets into all the corners and up to all the edges. Even though I've made a lot of resin projects, there are still a couple of things that I learned, /relearned, wished I had done differently in this one. I'm using a heat gun to pass over the surface. It helps pop those last few bubbles that have risen up to the top, and I can push the colors into each other just a little bit too. So I had these little crushed glass chips in purple that I wanted to line along the edges of the purple resin, which sounds great, but adding them at this point made the colors, the white especially, travel around them weird and they kind of separated. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, it just wasn't the look that I was going for with all the little wisps of white. But I will correct that a little bit later. So now that I have all of the color down, I want to let this sit for about an hour, and I'll cover it just to keep any dust off. So about an hour later, I came back to set in the handles. By waiting a little bit, the colors are more likely to keep their current swirl pattern instead of having the surface tension of the handle bases disrupting it. So then I left it alone a couple more hours. Now, remember when I wasn't really happy with the purple glass chips that I added? Now the resin is still tacky, but it's firm, so it's no longer traveling and the colors aren't moving around. So I'm going to add some more little glass pieces and some more gold flakes. The flakes also spread around quite a lot and were getting lost under some of the colored resin. The next time I do something like this, I might try curing just the colored layer first, then adding some sparkly elements like this mixed in with some UV resin, and then doing a top coat of everything. So I guess watch for a future video there. Okay, so now it's cured for several hours and I'm mixing up the top coat. This will give a nice smooth surface over the gold flakes and the crushed glass. It will also make the handles more secure, as they'll be in about 1/4 inch of resin instead of just 1/8 of an inch. So I'm mixing 2 ounces each of part A and part B, mixing just like before and using the Resiners bubble remover again. I've put the whole tray mold on a large flat lid so that I can easily move it around. So I'm going to pour the new resin into the center of the tray. And then using this lid that it's on, I can tilt up the edges and help the resin get into the edges and the corner and cover the whole surface. I can also use a stir stick like this to spread it around and push it into the corners. Once the tray is all covered, the heat gun again is going to get rid of any bubbles. And then this needs to cure for at least 24 hours, but probably more, to make sure that it's totally hardened and has no more bend to it. Okay, so it's been 2 whole days now and this has cured up beautifully. Let's go ahead and take it out of the mold. I'm going to start by just releasing the edges a little bit. Oh yeah, that's going to come out really nice. Okay, here it is from the back side. Aren't those colors pretty? Okay, and then here it is. This is the top. Handles like this. They're stuck in perfectly with those 2 layers of cured resin. Right, and then I'm going to kind of give you an up close, like you can see the reflection in there, totally smooth, totally bubble free surface, thanks in part to the Resiners Airless Pro. I will leave a link for this in the description so you can go get your own. If you have questions about anything I did to make this tray, make sure you let me know. Give this video a like if you learned something new, and make sure you subscribe to the channel to catch all my future resin videos. Thanks for watching. Bye.